Good afternoon, evening, relocated. Welcome to Bruce Leonard Leans Left while it's still legal. It's still legal last time I checked, but I've been keeping an eye on the situation. There's a lot going on, as usual. A lot to get to. How you doing? Let me open up the box. So if you're watching, you can hit me up. A lot going on today. Well, as you know, I've been off for a few days. A lot going on in the last few days. If you're not aware of the situation, Trump declared the, well, we talked about that. He did that the last time we were on. Danielle, he was on. He declared the 1798 Alien Insurrection Act. Or, I'm sorry, Alien Enemies Act. I don't even know what the fuck it's called. But anyway, I looked up the act. The very first sentence says, in the event of a declared war, it's a wartime law. You can't just declare it like, like, it's an invasion. No, it's not really an army. It's not really a country, but it's an invasion. Either way, so he declares this act. He rounds up a bunch of people, loads up 3 planes, but somebody got to court before they got the people out, and the judge ordered them to not deport these people, and if they were in the air, to turn around and come back. Well, there was a timeline. I had the timeline. I don't have it right in front of me, but they got the order was posted online at 7:56 p.m. and the plane took off about 8:05 or 8:03. So they knew that the judge told them not to take these people, and they took them anyway. And not only did they deport these people, but did they take them to Venezuela like they said they're Venezuelans? No. They took them to El Salvador, where they were immediately locked in a supermax prison. Now, here's the thing that I've noticed about this discussion lately. They want to frame it into a zero-term discussion. They want to say, well, if you don't let Trump round up these people and send them off to the supermax prison in El Salvador, then you're with the criminals, gangs, and terrorists. And no, that's not the situation. Okay? Criminal gangs, terrorists, criminals, I want them deported. Just like them. I want them to be deported. I want them gone. If they're here and they're dangerous criminals, terrorists, or like I said, MS-13 gang members. I don't know if you know anything about MS-13, but I mean, Trump's not lying when he says they're fucking menace, bro. They're dangerous people. Nobody wants them here. Nobody's with them. There's no one on the left that's like, well, I want MS-13. I mean, there might be people, but I don't know them. It's not about that. What it's about is due process of law. Okay? If you can go to court and show me, hey, this person is an MS-13 member, and even if he doesn't have a criminal record here in America, you can show that he ran away from his country because he was running from trouble, because he has a record there. I don't care. You can deport him. Take him. I don't give a fuck what you do with him. Doesn't matter to me. But here's the gig. You can't just let them say, oh, these people are all gang members and terrorists. And then when they went to court, the judge asked them to court and to ask them why they defied his order. And he asked them, who are these people? And they wouldn't tell him. Okay? Now, if these people are all criminals, like they say, and they're all vetted and they have all their records, right? Then why wouldn't they tell you? Why not just show, okay, these are the people They're evil, dangerous people. We sent them. Listen, if one person, one innocent person, is jacked up and sent down to a supermax prison in El Salvador where they have to be for 1 year with no hearing or nothing, at least a year, they're disappeared, bro. And if one person is innocent and has to go through that, that's a crime against humanity as far as I'm concerned. Can you imagine that? If you weren't a member of these gangs, you were just a person, and all of a sudden you're jacked up and put on a military airplane and sent to El Salvador. And I don't know if you saw how they treated these people, but it wasn't very nice. And if you allow that to happen to them, who's to say it won't be you or the next person that they decide they don't like? And they just grab you up and say, "Wow, he's a terrorist," and you're gone. And people are cheering this on like it's something to be. Here's something that the right does that the left doesn't do. Okay, they have a machine. I don't know where it is. I don't know if they have like a central fax machine that they send these things out every day to the 1,000 outlets that they have. But somebody wakes up in the morning and says, "We're going to talk about this today." And for the last couple of days, it's been that was the line. That if you don't support Trump deporting anyone he wants at any time, that you're with these criminals and you're with these terrorists. And so what they do is they get up, they send this message out to Fox, Newsmax, OAN, Daily Wire, Matt Walsh, Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, all these people. They all get the same message. And they say, you talk about this today. And you turn on any right-wing channel, any right-wing podcast, or any right-wing radio station, and that's what they're talking about. Okay? And what they do is they make it all a zero-sum argument. You're either with them or you're against them, which is what Trump does too. But they say either you support Trump being able to declare anyone a terrorist and take them out of the country with no processes, and any judge that interferes with them is an activist judge, and they're it's unbelievably effective. You know, and it goes out all over X and all this other shit, you know, and then the left doesn't do that. If you go on Blue Sky, it's just a lot of random news and people's thoughts, and a lot of it, most of it's from the left, but it's not nearly as centralized where they're all repeating the same thing. Because the right wing can only survive with propaganda and lies. Because, like I said, most of their entire philosophy is bullshit. It's trumped up, pardon the pun, but fear-mongering and grievance addressing and trolling and they project onto others. They say the gays and the trans, they groom children. When every day that you look, who's getting arrested for molesting children or fucking around with minors? It's always church people, MAGA people, right, Republicans. I mean, I'm not saying there's no leftist perverts. I'm sure there is, but not nearly in the numbers, it seems, that these people. It's because they live a life of self-repression. You know, their whole life is spent railing against what they consider immoral shit, and you know, they don't do anything. They're always angry. And I don't know if you know what was going on in Minnesota, but there were some state senators in Minnesota that wanted to put in this. They were proposing a law to make TDS, the Trump derangement syndrome, they call it. That's what they call anybody who doesn't like Trump and tries to point out the fact that Trump's shitting all over the Constitution. They say, you have Trump derangement syndrome. Well, they wanted to make this an official term, like a real medical term, and they had written a law and put it in there. And this is the other thing about the right wing, today's right wing conservatives. They're not in the government to do anything. They're not there to help you or help your lives. They're there to troll libs and own libs, and that's what they do. That's all they do. That's what, and they write laws like trans bathroom laws and this TDS law, because they don't really have any ideas. I mean, their ideas are old, tired, and when they've been tried, they fucking failed. So they're not even about. It's just like this Doge. They say Doge. We have to have Doge because the country's gonna go bankrupt. And we gotta cut all this spending, and then they're gonna turn around and add $1 trillion to the deficit. So let me explain something to you. There's no way they can cut enough to make this $1 trillion increase in the deficit, and they want to increase the debt limit so we have to borrow more to pay for this deficit. And you think for 1 second that they can cut that much money? Not to mention that Doge in of itself has been incredibly inefficient. As of right now, they're working to reinstate like 25,000 employees, probationary employees that they fired because it was illegal. The whole operation is illegal. The fact that they've gotten away with any of it is, they should be happy they've gotten away with whatever they've gotten away with because it's all illegal. Congress controls the spending. It's written in the Constitution. You may or may not like that. And if you don't like that, then change the fucking Constitution. But other than that, that's the law. And there's all kinds of other laws about firing people. You can't just fire people because you woke up one day and decided to fire them. Like you have to have cause and justification. And the fact that they tried to say that they did performance reviews on 25,000 people in like 3 days in of itself is a fucking joke. They just fired him, which is illegal. Anyway, not to mention all the lawsuits. And every time there's a lawsuit against Doge or whatever, they got to get a lawyer and they got to go to court and they got to pay for those lawyers. So they're spending, plus they're giving each Doge person a fucking 6-figure salary. It's costs $10 million a week, I think they said, to run Doge right now. And that's not even counting, like I said, the legal expenses that are incurred by these lawsuits. The people that they fired and have to rehire, it's not an efficient operation for Office of Government Efficiency. It's not very efficient. But anyway, here's to get back to what I was talking about. So these senators in Minnesota, they wanted to pass a law to make Trump derangement syndrome to be an official medical term, right? They're trolling the libs. That's their only purpose. So they're about to put in this law, or try to put it up for a vote, I guess. And this happens. Check this out. The guy who wrote the bill, Senator Justin Eichhorn, 40, was arrested March 17th in Bloomington, Minnesota. I imagine it's Minnesota, because that's where they're from. They communicated with the man who thought he was talking to a 16-year-old girl. On March 17th, the detective arranged to meet with them near the 8300 block of Normandale Boulevard in Bloomington. The man, identified as Eichhorn, state senator, was seen, mega state senator, was seen arriving to the area in a pickup truck, was then arrested and booked into jail. He's not been formally charged, but felony charges of soliciting an under 18-year-old to practice prostitution are pending from the Hennepin County Attorney's Office. Eichhorn is married Republican with 4 children. He was the sponsor of the bill that would declare Trump derangement syndrome a mental illness. You know what's a mental illness? Being a fucking pederast, bro. These people are fucking... you can't make up how ridiculously fucking hypocritical and full of shit the entire conservative right wing in America has become. It's a farce, dude. It's a farce. And meanwhile, these people are right around. What do we got? We got nothing. We got the Democratic Party, one of the most useless fucking... Chuck Schumer just rolled over. He didn't even try to get one thing. He just rolled over and voted for that fucking bill. He said he voted for that bill because if he didn't, Trump and Musk were going to kill a bunch of agencies. He voted for the bill. The very next day, Trump killed 7 agencies. The Voice of America. It's unbelievable. And today, well, we didn't even talk about the bombs. He fucking bombed the Houthis in Yemen. Did he hit the Houthis? I don't know. Maybe he did, but and people wonder, why do they hate us? Not to mention Israel fired back up on Gaza to kill 400 people. I guess that ceasefire's over. Like, I thought Trump had that all worked out. It's unbelievable. You talk to these people and they act like Donald Trump's the greatest thing that's ever walked this planet. Right now, as we speak, all the countries in Europe are voting. Germany, they said today, the incoming prime minister just want to vote in the parliament to raise up the borrowing limit so that Germany can start rearming itself. We all know what happened last time Germany rearmed itself. Germany's armed itself twice. That I give you a hint. No, I'm not saying that they're not the bad guys anymore, but it doesn't mean something ain't gonna happen. If Germany's arming, some shit's about to go down. Only this time it's gonna be different because we ain't gonna be with them. People don't seem to understand. Like, everybody just blundering through their life. There's a time in life when you need to stop. You need to look around and assess what the fuck is going on around you. Not just tunneling through your own little life, because your own little life is about to get fucked up. Because you're not paying attention to what's going on around you. So Trump said, so the judge put an injunction on him, right? Said he couldn't deport these people or use that fucking wartime act because it's, I don't know if you know this, but we're not in a war. So declaring wartime powers is like, what the fuck? That's why he declared that national emergency at the border, even though if you look down there now, there ain't no one here. Danielle had to cancel his tour because Canadians won't come here now. You think people are going to come here? You imagine being a tourist from another country. They just jerk you up, and all of a sudden, you're in a supermax prison in El Salvador. Well, there ain't no lawyers to help get you out. Ain't nobody going to come here. You know, I hope Florida and all these fucking states that live off tourism know them tourists ain't coming. I put money on it right now. Inside a year, there won't be no fucking tourists here. I mean, there might be a few, but the numbers are gonna drop sharply. Ain't nobody gonna want to come over here. You might risk getting fucking jacked up in the middle of some shit. Because I'm gonna tell you this right now. I don't know if you know this, but they've already jacked up innocent people. They say, oh, this guy has a tattoo. Oh, this guy, he's brown, speaking Spanish. Like, they're not really, this is like stop and frisk on steroids. Only you don't get taken to the county jail. They fucking fly you to El Salvador and put you in a supermax prison. Not to mention those people in Panama, I haven't heard nothing about it. The Iranian woman and the other people that were in Panama that they took into that the jungle and put in a jungle camp, don't know where they are. They're disappeared. Now we know what the whole world's fucked. it's like the pandemic jacked everybody's brain, and coming out of that, like I said, the world's just been rapidly flying apart. I don't know what happened that made Netanyahu wake up and decide he needed to shoot off a bunch of missiles this morning, but he said, oh, this is to ensure that we get our hostages back. And like, oh, we don't know where they are. Just shoot a bunch of missiles. It's like, how do you know you're not shooting the hostages yourself? You don't know where they are. You're just firing missiles into Gaza. And again, I don't know if they hit Hamas, but they certainly hit a bunch of children. They killed 400 people. I don't know how many of them people are Hamas. I guarantee you probably less than 50. The other 350 or whatever, innocent people. And they have people effectively brainwashed. Like to the average person that you see online making comments or any of that kind of stuff, they're all terrorists. All of them. All the way down to the fucking little 5-year-old child who got blown up or whatever. Like, they're all terrorists. They all deserve whatever happens to them. We've lost our humanity somewhere down the line. We've forgotten what it means to be human beings. And don't give me all this enlightened shit. Like, we're not fucking enlightened, bro. We are far from enlightened. So get this. So the judge tells them to come into court, right, and tell them why they defied his order, right? So they go to the court, and he says, why did you defy my order? And they said, well, they gave a bunch of bullshit excuses, and they're like, well, you're over international waters, so your order doesn't count. So then he says, who are these people? Who was on those planes? And they say, we can't tell you that. What do you mean you can't tell me that? They're all criminals, right? They're all gang members, right? You claim you thoroughly vetted all these people, right? If you've thoroughly vetted all these people, then you should have the vet file for each person. You should be able to tell us, the American public, or at least the judge, who the fuck was on these planes. They refused to do it. So the judge told them to come back today with the information. So then they came back to court today and basically told the judge that they don't feel like they have to comply with requests for information from a judge, and again refused to say who was on these fucking planes. What are they trying to hide? You know, it's already been said that Trump is not happy because the numbers of deportations aren't into the millions like he wanted them to be. And I already told you that whole story about all these criminal aliens is a bullshit story, and they were running out of criminals. That's why they started just deporting regular people, okay? And now you're telling me that 3 plane loads full of people are now locked in a supermax prison in El Salvador. That's a whole nother fucking issue to be discussed. Why in the fuck are we paying El Salvador to take people and lock them in a supermax prison? Why is Trump shipping them out of the country to some place where, you might not be able to keep an eye on them or find out what happened to them? He tried to use Guantanamo Bay, but there wasn't enough people to make it cost effective. He was firing up Guantanamo Bay to hold, like, I forget what it was. It was a small number. It's just like they're eating the cats and dogs story. It's a bullshit story. It's not real. It never was. Now, are there immigrant criminals? Sure, there are. And like I said in the beginning of the show, I want them to be deported just like they do. I have no problem with the deportation of criminals, okay? If they're illegally here and they're criminals, they're gang members, and you can prove that, yes, by all means, deport them. If they're MS-13 members or murderers or whatever, by all means, send them to the supermax prison. But today, this guy online, now, again, online has become so dubious. It's so full of obvious bots, trolls, paid Russian people who give ridiculous, like, Trump supporting comments in broken English that that you can tell they're not Americans, or they have foreign names. But this guy said today that he thought, well, they're here illegally, so they're criminals. And I said, well, and they deserve to be locked up in a supermax prison? Yes. Just for coming here. Supermax prison, where they send, like, the worst of El Salvador, like, filled with real gangsters with tattoos all over them. People that'll stab you 57 times with a fucking pencil. And do you think that people deserve to go there? Because they crossed the border looking for a job. If you think like, and then I called him a Nazi, and then he used that whole line, oh, you just call people Nazis if you don't agree with them. And I'm like, no, if you think that someone should just be jerked up and sent down to a supermax prison with no due process or law whatsoever, you're a fucking Nazi. I hate to break it to you. And all the gaslighting in the world ain't going to change that. You're a goddamn Nazi. Meanwhile, Tesla dealerships catching on fire all over the place. And Musk is on Twitter crying, I don't understand why everybody hates me. This fucking guy has spent the last, let's say, what do you want to say, year? 2 years? Trolling everybody, calling everybody fucking parasites, pieces of shit, and talking about how he's going to destroy the federal government, and then he's like, I don't understand. Calling the guy on the space station retarded, not to mention the 1,000 lies that he posts on X every single day, and he knows he's lying. If he doesn't know he's lying, it's even worse problem. He's totally deluded and all high up on, jacked up on ketamine, and he doesn't know what's real and what's fake anymore. But I think that he knows what he's doing. It's propaganda. Elon Musk never bought, I'll break it to you, Elon Musk never bought Twitter for free speech. Elon Musk doesn't give a fuck about free speech. He saw what a powerful tool Twitter could be for propagandizing worldwide, and that he could affect the politics in various countries, which he has business interests in. And so he bought X, and he turned it into a fucking Nazi megaphone. It worked here because people were fucking stupid. He had tried to do it in Germany, it didn't work. It didn't quite work, but it worked some. Like they won parliament seats more than they ever had. And he's just going from country to country. And right now, he's trying to buy the Wisconsin State Supreme Court has a race, and he's up there pouring money into that race because he wants a mega judge on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. You got to understand that these people have a plan. You know, they're trying to systematically stack the government and the courts with loyalists who will basically rubber stamp Trump. And that's why they're going after any judges now that are trying to stop what he's doing, because they already got the Congress in their back pocket. The judiciary is the only thing stopping them from doing anything they want. And so that's what they're going after now. And then he's also attacking law firms, so lawyers are afraid to take cases against him. It's a very insidious movement. And that's the other thing, is they lie constantly. And you're telling me that I have to just accept that you're telling me that all these people are terrorists and they all belong in the Supermax prison? But yet you won't tell me who these people are, or show me the vetting process that you use to determine that they should be taken to El Salvador and locked into a... I don't know if you've seen this place. It is some shit. You know, like I said, if one innocent person gets caught up in this, it's a crime against humanity, bro, because there ain't no other way to say it. They trucked them people off a bus, they shaved their head, and they threw them right in there. I mean, it's a big, giant concrete tank full of sharks. Like I said, real gangsters. If you're just a regular person, dude. yeah. It's not a good situation. And here's the deal. Again, I don't know if I have to explain this like real slow for people to understand. Okay? It's not about the criminal gangs. It's not about the terrorists. I want them gone too. If you find them, I'm all for it. But you should have to show who these people are and why they deserve to be shipped off to a Supermax prison in El Salvador. You can't just say, here's 300 people, and they're all terrorists or criminals because we said so. And therefore, we're going to disappear them. You don't know anything about history if you're not frightened right now, like I said, because it starts with them. But if they're allowed to get away with that, then they can do that to you or me or anyone else. And cook up some bullshit charge and say, oh, that's why there's courts. That's what your freedom in America is all about. There's layers of protection for you, so that some asshole becomes president. Can't just go around and jack up anyone he doesn't like. Because that's what happens in other countries that they told you your whole life. You know, you're so lucky to live here because you know what happens in Svengali or whatever. Don't cut your tongue out just for having a joint, you know. Explain something to you. If you say that the President of the United States can unilaterally jack up anyone off the street that he wants and disappear him into the jungles of Panama or El Salvador or wherever the fuck he sends him, or Guantanamo Bay or anywhere else, you ain't no longer free. Now you can sit at home and watch a Masked Singer, whatever you do, and fucking pretend like, oh, you're free. Like, you're not free. You're not. Right now, there's millions of people right now who are afraid to go out of their house because they're green card holders or naturalized citizens, or they're illegal aliens, or they're on student visas, and they're afraid. They're living in fear right now in the freest country on earth. See, I hate to break that to you. It's always kind of been a myth. It's not the freest country on earth. I mean, we have more people in prison than anybody in the fucking world. And they've still managed to sell that. This is the freest country on earth, even though we got millions of people locked up in prison. And they want to lock up millions more. Oh yeah, and by the way, that's a fucking business. In the freest country in the world, locking people up in jail is a business. It's sold on the stock market. It's always been kind of bullshit. You're not free. You're not. I mean, the truth is, you're not free anywhere in the world. I mean, you are. I mean, and like I said, I've never been to Denmark or Norway or these Sweden, these countries that you hear about that are like socialist, utopian paradise. So I can't say how free they are or not, because I don't have any experience walking around there, and I'm not going to talk about things I don't know about. But my guess is that you're pretty much not free anywhere. Anywhere there's a government and there's laws and they're telling you what you can and can't do, you know, it's not. I mean, some places are more free than others, but there's always some kind of government that's trying to, you know, and like I'm sure in every country, just like this one, even when you have a good government, there's still a semblance of the people, I'm sure, who are fucking Nazis and wish that the government was a little more powerful and a little more thought like them, you know. And wanted to go after people they didn't like and wanted to enforce their moral codes onto you and wanted to, you know, it's just like anything else. We're not that enlightened. So back to my point I was making earlier, you know, don't give me that enlightenment shit. We're not enlightened in any way. I mean, we are in some ways, I guess, but like I said, all this technology we have around us, it creates this false image that humanity is on some, you know, intellectual. It's like, yes, we're capable of those things, but the average person is a knuckle-dragging monkey, bro, and hates anyone that ain't like him. And they're brainwashed with religion, you know, and convinced that they're better than these people because God told them so or whatever. I mean, you know, and all the ridiculous bullshit that we've always been dealing with. But I don't think, like I said, that the average person, they don't get it yet. Like, if you don't see how that is dangerous to you, then you're not even educated enough to understand the concept of freedom. And, you know, I've never seen a country, like I said, that, I I mean, this is the only country I've ever lived in, but we're supposedly the freest country in the whole world, right? But yet there's millions of us that are just willing to give away those freedoms. I guess it's so that, I don't know, to own and live, whatever the fuck that means. Own and lives. This is about, like I said before, this is about white people trying to reestablish their dominance in this country. And there ain't no, that's it. The white people who've controlled this country for all these years, when Barack Obama was elected, they fucking freaked out. And they said, oh, we're losing it. And if it stays like this, then we won't be in charge no more. So therefore, we got to tear this whole thing down and reestablish our dominance. And that's what they're trying to do. And millions of people are willing to let them do whatever because they're trying to reestablish this order that they feel like they have lost. Where even the poorest white guy in a fucking trailer park somewhere can feel like he's superior to somebody else. It's a very I mean, it sucks to say it, but it's a part of humanity. It's part of what people are. It's part of what people have always been. It's a tribal thing where they congregate in groups, and I mean, everyone does it. The leftists do it. The Nazis do it. They gather in these groups. That's why I've never understood people, because I've always been like this. Big giant groups freak me out. I don't like corporate cultures where they try to pretend like, oh, you're part of some team, and it's not just a team, it's a family, and we care about you, and really all they're doing is using you to make themselves rich. But they want you to feel like you're part of something, so that it's all very, some corporations are worse than others, but they try to create this culty atmosphere where, and make you loyal to the company. You gotta understand the company takes care of you. The company, it's all there is. And all you gotta do is grovel in front of your superior. I've always felt like an outsider. I've never, like I said, big groups freak me out, like at churches and any groups. I've never been a member of any group. A band is the biggest group I've ever been a part of. 4 or 5 people. And that's different because it's 4 or 5 artists that are together creating art. It's not like you go to band practice. Rah, rah, we're going to thing. And I've always managed to have jobs and survive, but I've never been able to get involved in the corporate, like, oh, I'm joining this corporation and I'm going to work my way up the ladder by groveling, to the guy in front of me until he lifts me up, and then I'll grovel to the next guy until he lifts me up, and then I'll grovel to the it's humiliating. And maybe it's because I'm an only child and I've always been alone a lot, but I never liked the fact to feel like someone has power over my life. No one has power over my life. I'm a smart person, and I'm a hard worker. And you're lucky I showed up to work. You're lucky I work here, because I can work better than 2 or 3 other fucking people. Put together, I always tell people, you want to get rid of me, that's fine. You need 2 people to replace me. And that's true. That's why I've been able to get away with being this way. I say, I can do a lot of stuff. It's not that I don't have the intellectual capacity to run like I could be a store manager. I never wanted to be a store manager because once you get past hourly wages and you take a salary, now you're working for less money than you was working before, because store manager makes $100,000 a year. He's like, yeah, but he works 90 hours a week. Start breaking that down. He makes less than me. And he has no life. All you did was sold your life for $100,000. When I was in bonds in Vegas, I moved it up to, they have fourth key manager, and then that was the last, you were the manager, but you were at night. You were the manager in charge of the store. I had the store keys, all that. I could do anything that the store manager could do. But I got paid by the hour. And I said, I'm not going any farther, because the next step up was salary job. And once they got a salary job, I said, now you're beholden to them. You don't have a real schedule. Your schedule is whenever they call you, tell you to show up. You need to come in right now. Plus, you're responsible for, like I said, someone calls off, you gotta go in. And someone is like, there's just so much to it. And like I said, you wind up working more hours than you worked before. You're making more money, but like I said, hourly, you're making less. It's a scam, like everything else. Now you're making good money, so you're like, oh, I'm making good money. He's like, yeah, but you can't enjoy it. I've only ever had jobs to finance whatever the fuck I wanted to do besides that. And I told them, I told people when I was younger, I would go into a job interview, I'd tell them, I'm in a band. To me, that takes priority over this. And if something happens and I have to play a show or something in my band, I'm going there. This job will always be second. And then usually I get hired anyway, and once I'm work somewhere, they let me do whatever I want. A lot of times, because I'm self-sufficient. They don't gotta worry about me, I'm as a department manager in the store, same thing. It's like, because it's hourly. If you move up to assistant manager or a store manager, now you're a salary. And I said, you're on the hook. Not going on the hook. Not going on the hook. And I said, plus I've always made money doing the other stuff I did, so I don't need the money either. I get paid to do comedy. When I was a musician, I got paid to play music. We sold merchandise, we sold t-shirts and CDs, and same as now. Like when I do a show, I sell t-shirts. I have an album again on iTunes and whatever. You can buy it there if you haven't already. It would help me out tremendously. And again, I set all this stuff up myself. I don't have no agents or corporate structure to prop me up. Like, I'm an independent artist. I've always been an independent artist. I don't know no other way to do it. I'm like an old metal punk rock guy. DIY. You say, do it yourself. Same as this. I say, oh, I'm going to make a show. What did I do? I set all this stuff up. I bought all this stuff. I learned how to use it. I set it all up. And now I'm doing a show. It's like, that's what I do. See, that's the difference between free-thinking people and these fucking lemmings who feel like they need someone like Donald Trump to tell them how to live their lives and what is dangerous to them or whatever. It's like this average person, mega person. They don't know any fucking immigrant. They don't know anything about it. It's a big boogeyman fear thing. They don't know any immigrants, so they don't have any real experience. So when Trump tells them they're all murderers and criminals and rapists, they go, yeah, they must be, and I must be scared of them. Because never even enters their mind that like the local taco truck that they love so much is run by an immigrant, or whatever. Like most of these people, they just come here to make a living. I used to wonder about that all the time. When I was younger, especially, like you go downtown to any city, and there's people there. A lot of times they're immigrants who are running like these hot dog carts and shit, and they're standing out in the street and they're selling hot dogs. And you think to yourself, man, where they came from is so fucking bad that they think that coming here and being able to sell hot dogs off a cart in the middle of the street is like the greatest thing ever. You know, that's how bad the rest of the world is. Or some of these countries, and that's why they want to get out of them, because they're fucking awful. And you go, man, if I could just get to America and get that hot dog cart. It's unbelievable. People don't think like I've always thought like that, and I don't know why. Like I look at something and I try to peer into the depth of what it all means, like, and that's what it means. It means the rest of the world is so shitty that a guy standing on the corner for 10 hours a day selling hot dogs off a cart, to him, that's amazing. That's freedom. Because where he's at, they probably fucking beat him up and make him fucking work in the sugarcane field for fucking 50 hours. And he's like, I gotta get the fuck out of here, man. They're eating cats and dogs, and they're like, we don't want to. What's he talking about, eating cats and dogs? What's he talking about, eating cats and dogs? It's not true. It never was. It's bullshit subterfuge story. Now I know I told you I was going to go up there, and I am. I'm actually thinking about going on Sunday, my day off. It's not football season. I do want to say that I'm very happy when my Cincinnati Bengals opened up the wallet. And for once, they didn't let all their good players walk out the fucking door. They fucking signed them up. They signed. They already signed Joe Burrow for 5 years, and now they got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins for 4 years. And most people, I don't care if you care about football, but it's a big thing for us. I said, because usually we have those good players and they just get to walk away, and you get to watch them on other teams having success. All I want my whole life, so I said, is for the Bengals to win the Super Bowl one time. I can die happy. I just want to feel that feeling one time. The Bengals are the only sports team I give a shit about. And I said my dad took me to a Bengals game when I was a little kid, and I just love football. I've always loved football, but the Bengals are the only team that when I watch the games I feel shit. I watch every other sports. I just watch, and it's exciting. You go, oh yeah, that's a good play or whatever. But like when the Bengals play, I feel things, like emotions. I didn't bawl cry, but a tear rolled out of my eye when they lost that Super Bowl a couple years ago. Like I did cry just a bit. I was so hopeful that it was going to happen. And I was even home for it. It was all set up. And I had a plan to go make a custom jersey. If they won the Super Bowl, I think go make a custom jersey with my name on it, and the Super Bowl logo, and all that. And 3 times in my life they've made the Super Bowl. 3 times. They lost by 1 score. It's the story of my life. Same as the show business. I've been almost there several times. Like, oh, I'm gonna make it. I'm really on the precipice of, and then something terrible happens, and knocks me back down. The same as the Bengals. They make the Super Bowl 3 times, lose by 1 score each time. Heartbreaking. At the last minute too. They were winning the game in the last 2 minutes. All those games. And I feel every one of them. I feel every one of them. Football season is a good distraction for me. I can't get into those sports that have 100 games. It's like, there's too many games, man. I go to the Reds games, and I like the Reds, but I don't live and die by the baseball. There's 162 games. There's too many fucking games, man. Basketball is the same thing. It's 82 games. It's a lot of games, and so I don't really watch basketball until it gets around playoff time. They're playing for seeds, and then they start playing playoffs games, and then it's exciting to watch. But 82 games of same as hockey. It's like 80 something games. It's too many games, man. I worked for the Knights, the Vegas Golden Knights for 3 seasons. Saw all those games. It's too many games, man. That's the other reason why football is exciting. It's only 17 games. Each game is meaningful. It means something. If you lose, that's what happened to the Bengals. They lost the first game of the season that they shouldn't have lost, and it wound up costing them the playoffs. If they would have won that game, they would have made the playoffs. So the very first game cost them. So, like I said, each football game is meaningful, and that's what makes it more exciting to me as a sport. Not to mention just the sport itself. It's the most exciting sport. I mean, besides like fighting. Fighting to me is different. It's not like team sports. Fighting is an individual sport, and it's very exciting. What to watch fight. But it's not the same as 11 guys got to work together to make this happen. And the camaraderie and all that, and the fandom. There's not really a you can be a fan of a fighter and watching a fight, and then turn around and start high fiving people next to you and shit. Like you can in a team sport. Everybody's united by you're all wearing the same uniform. You got jerseys on, and you can sit at a football game and you don't have to know the people around you. And you're like, yeah, and then when you win, you hug those people. You don't even know them. Never met them. But you're experiencing this collective moment of joy because, you're a fan of this team, and especially the Bengals who've sucked for so long. And now that they're good and they actually have a chance, it's even more exciting. The Bengals got a nice 3-year window now. Where they actually could have a chance to win the Super Bowl if they can fix that defense a little bit. Right now they get all the money on offense, which is good, but they scored 40 points a game last season and lost a bunch of games 42-40 or whatever because the fucking defense couldn't stop nobody. They started playing good towards the end of the year, but it was too late. Too late. I'm going to get out of here. And I said, we're going to keep these shows around an hour. But here's the deal. Again, if you let this stand, if you let Trump be able to just jerk anyone off the street that he wants to and send to a supermax prison in El Salvador, like I said, I promise you right now, they won't stop with the immigrants. There'll be somebody next. So you need to, like I said, take a step back. Look around you. Absorb what's happening. Because, like I said, We're a precarious moment in American history. And I will be back on Thursday. I'm going to the first four tomorrow, NCAA basketball tournament. I told my dad loves basketball, and I like basketball. But like I said, I don't live and die with it. But my dad loves basketball. So at Christmas time, I told him, yeah, I'll get us tickets to that first four because it's always in Dayton. And then the Xavier, the college from here, we have two major college teams in Cincinnati, the Cincinnati Bearcats and the Xavier Musketeers. And Xavier made the first four, and they're playing on Wednesday, which is when I had the tickets. So we got lucky, and we're going to go see the local boys Xavier play tomorrow, me and my dad. And that should be fun. And right now it's 70 degrees in Ohio, and by the weekend it's going to be snowing. Welcome to Ohio. Shorts today and parka on Saturday. I want to go back to Vegas. Thank you guys for watching if you're watching. And like I said, I'll be back on Thursday. And please take care out there. This is Bruce Leonard Leans Left. While it's still legal, I believe it's still legal. I should probably look it up and check. They haven't come to drag me off to El Salvador yet, so that's good. And thank you for watching. I'll be back Thursday. I'm Bruce Leonard. Thank you.